Okay, the time is now 6 o'clock, and I call to order this council workshop, April 30, 2025. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, we have citizens to be heard, so anybody who would like to be heard on any issue of borough government, you can come up to the podium. Go ahead, come on up. Although we know you, we need name and address. You know the drill.
Sure.
Yeah.
My name is John. My name is John Werner, and I live at 133 West High Street. About a month ago now, some of us came and presented a welcoming city draft ordinance to the Borough Council. And today, I just kind of wanted to give an update on some things surrounding this particular issue in the region. Specifically, Lancaster County Sheriff's Department has expressed interest in signing on with ICE as an enforcement agency. This is something that is originating with the sheriff and is not originating with the Lancaster County Commissioners, to my knowledge. Additionally, some of the borough councilors of Elizabethtown have expressed an interest in their police department signing on with ICE as an enforcement agency. I don't particularly know if the signing on as a municipality versus the county is different in terms of their obligations, but it's a stark reminder that this is an issue that's alive in this region and that there is not just support in favor of a pro-human rights welcoming city ordinance, but there is support in favor of signing on with ICE, and that kind of suggests there's some urgency around this. And so I wanted to bring that to our Borough Council's attention.
Sure, thanks, John. I'll just clarify that the sheriff's departments are independent offices from the commissioners.
Yes.
So, right, so they can kind of do what they want within the confines of their jurisdiction. I'll also say our police department's not signing on to be deputized by ICE. That's not going to happen. That would go through the borough manager has control over that along with us at policy level, and it's not within the bounds of anything that they could do anyway. They have other problems to worry about.
I don't think anybody's worried about that here. But it's a live issue in the region.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, thanks, John.
Yep.
Tina.
Hi, Tina Ziegler, 120 East Lowther Street. I kind of just wanted to also join in with what John said and kind of I did want to address the police aspect of it because this week it's becoming more apparent, right, that there's going to be increased violence, right? We are seeing police officers become emboldened, and I just wanted to kind of thank our borough police for going, above and beyond what other police officers, police agencies do in our surrounding areas with their, extra trainings and things like that. And I just wanted to, say that I hope that continues. And, it's really reassuring to hear you say that they're not going to be deputized by ICE and things like that. And so kind of both a thank you and a plea to just make sure that continues to happen. And then, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Stephanie, do we have anybody by Zoom? Okay, we'll move on to outside agency requests. So this is a now biannual effort the council makes to provide funding to outside agencies. It's $10,000 each time. Tonight's the night for presentations. I imagine most of the folks here in the audience are probably here for that purpose, and then you'll clear out. Free to stay afterwards. What will happen after these presentations? Council hears everything. We'll have any questions that they may have as you present. You have 5 minutes to present. Then it goes to a couple members of our subcommittees along with staff to formulate a recommendation that will come back to council, and then we'll be approving that at our June meeting. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're on schedule to approve those then at our June meeting. I will point out we have just about $26,000 worth of requests, and there's $10,000 budgeted. So um, I can tell you not everybody's going to get full amount, and probably it's possible that no one will get the full amount that they requested, but we always make an effort to provide to all the organizations that come forward. And so we look forward to our subcommittee figuring that out, and then making a recommendation to us that then we'll tackle in June. So without further ado, I'll move on to the presentations, and we'll begin with Bluegrass on the Grass Festival.
My name is Davis Tracy. I represent the Bluegrass on the Grass Festival from Dickinson College. I thank you for the opportunity to request your support. The festival started in 1996 at the request of a dean at Dickinson College, and it has grown from 400 people in attendance to more than 4,000, and this will be our 28th year of offering the festival. It's a family-friendly event. People set up their tents the night before, and we support this festival with donations from about 200 individuals, and we also generate some funds at the festival through vendors who pay us a little money to make bank at the festival, which is what they do. They also feed our musicians, so our primary costs are paying musicians and paying for their night's lodging and feeding them during the day of the festival. When we started the festival, the first band that has appeared at every festival is the Dismembered Tennesseans from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they continue to be at the festival. They were originated by Mr. Fletcher Bright, who was pictured earlier in this series. Mr. Bright was a very successful real estate manager and purchaser, and he brought his group here every year. They still come as the new Dismembered Tennesseans. He passed on Christmas Day a few years back. We purposely have a variety of bands at the festival. We don't just do straight ahead bluegrass. We know that the way into folk music is different for all people, and so we try to have differing bands. That's Michael Cleveland. They're playing that fiddle. Michael is 12 times the International Bluegrass Music Fiddle Player of the Year. He won't be with us this year, but he'll be with us next year. Every dollar that is donated to the festival goes towards paying the musicians and paying for expenses. There are no administrative costs to this festival. All the staff who work on the festival are volunteers. I think that's about all I need to tell you. Would you like to ask me any questions?
Are there any questions? Yeah, we know the Bluegrass Festival pretty well, so thank you for the presentation.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you for allowing me to do so.
Thank you.
Next up is Carlisle Area Dog Park Association, but I understand they contacted us earlier today, and their representative is unable to make it, so we'll move on to Carlisle Community Coalition. Jordan, I know you're coming straight from the gym and going right back to the gym, so.
Rag on me later. I'm just vacation. I'm requesting money for basketball, so I guess the outfit is fitting. So my name is Jordan's Decision, Carlisle Community Coalition. I'm the executive director there. Appreciate the opportunity and also everyone for their service. So Carlisle Community Coalition, we are an organization that runs the Carlisle Summer Basketball League at Memorial Park. What that basketball league and our request for funding is for that. We offer a 100% free league for 180 kids. They don't specifically have to be from Carlisle, even though about 95% of them go to school in the Carlisle School District. It is a co-ed league. We have 3 age groups. It starts at 10 under, which is for 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. We have a 12 under age group, which is for 11 and 12-year-olds. And we have a 14 and under, which is for 13 and 14-year-olds that have not entered high school yet. So they could be current 8th graders going into 9th. Even though it's 100% free league built on donations, we tell the families that sign up that their like cost of admission or their prices, each student has to present a fourth marking period or fourth quarter report card as sort of their admission into the league. That gets them their jersey on the first night of game night. And depending on their grades on that report card, and this is where we would say educate some people throughout our process. If they don't have grades, that would be make them eligible for school athletics. So maybe at Carlisle Middle School or high school. We have them attend what we call like enrichment sessions, where throughout the course of the summer, their accountability for those grades are they attend like workshops with a school district teacher on leadership, character building, development, character development. We talk a little bit about like racism and respecting people in your community and outside of that. So that's part of their token to play. Other aspects of that league that we pride ourselves on that are way bigger than basketball is we also on game nights, so we'll have 6 games per game night on Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout the summer. After the game, each team is given a trash bag and they're assigned a section of the park where they will go with their team with adult supervision to clean up and leave the park a little bit better than they found it that night. Other important part to our league is it's a no practice league, and I think in today's like day and age where everything for kids almost has to be organized, at least for a lot of them, we don't allow practices in our league. So part of the experience for them and learning just to be communicative and have think of the word define maybe some presence and gain some confidence is they get placed on a team and they may not know those kids, so throughout the summer they have to figure it out. And we find that night one is extremely awkward, very, very quiet, especially in a co-ed league. But by the end of the summer, they've made new friends, they've improved relationships they've already had, and they really work well together. Another part of that, like no practice league, is we call it a no nonsense league. So we have pretty strict guidelines on, even though fans are allowed to engage and be energetic, if anyone is being derogatory towards players, coaches, or officials, we'll shut that down. We've actually only had one instance in our 4 or 5 years of existence where someone was way out of line, and we just paused all games and said, you're either going to knock it off or you're going to leave the park. So we really are big on that aspect of positive encouragement and a positive environment, not only for the players and coaches, but also for the spectators that come in from the community. A couple other things with our league that I think are not necessarily tangible and we can't quantify it exactly is I would estimate that on game nights, and if you've been to the park, you probably have seen this, maybe anywhere from 200 to 300 people are in the park on a game night, and they're people that aren't just vested in the children playing. They may not have, a son or daughter, but there may be community members that have heard about it. Where we get 18 sponsors from businesses, so a business will sponsor a team. A lot of the business owners and staff will come out to watch their team play. So we really try and pull in a lot of the community members to the league. Aside from our funding, which hopefully we get from you guys and appreciate that opportunity, but also local businesses give us, we do and make a really strong effort to also raise money on our own on game nights through concessions, and probably the highlight of the league for most of the players. We have halftime, half-court shots where participants will pay $2 a shot, and if they make it, they get a Summer League t-shirt. So that's like the reward for it going in. But all that money from concessions and the halftime shots goes directly to our college student volunteers. And at the end of the upcoming next marking period, we pay direct tuition to their universities for their help and commitment to the youth throughout the summer. Last year, we actually had 1,000 shots attempted in 6 weeks. So that was just $2,000 before concessions that we could donate. So in requesting funding, that's really for the operations of the league. We're fully insured for liability purposes. We pay PIAA refs to ensure fair and safe gameplay. Anything we raise on our own outside of that, we try and give directly to the college students and volunteers, or extra incentives for maybe kids in the league, a gift card to Foot Locker or somewhere if they've shown great sportsmanship. So we try and tie it back into their participation.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any questions? There's a lot of information. I know first time here, so it was really informative for everybody who hasn't been involved before. So
I don't have any questions, but I remember when this league started, when Preston was still with us and started this. So it's amazing to see all the things that you are doing. I didn't know that all of that was happening. So
Appreciate
just very impressed.
Wish he was still here.
Go get him. Go
Yeah.
get him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan. Next up is Carlisle Summer Fair. Russ, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Russ Yinger, Yinger. I'm here on behalf of Carlisle Summer Fair, and this will be our 48th year, and it'll be your 48th year with helping Carlisle Summer Fair. It began with Wayne Pyle, editor of the Sentinel, Carlisle Borough, the War College, Denver Tucky from Tucky Mechanical back then. Now it's Tucky and Companies, the late Denver Tucky. And I'm forgetting someone, but that's give you the gist of it. It started in 1977, and I don't want to bore you, so if I do, cut me off. But it started in 77 after the 1976 bicentennial, when all the celebrations from the bicentennial were going on in 1976. The next year, Wayne was thinking, where's the celebrations? And when there was none, he started the Carlisle Summer Fair. I have some flyers up there I handed out. It's about 30, give or take, events per year that we do over the 4th of July weekend. There again, your monies go 100% to making this thing go. No volunteers get any money out of it. So we do everything from fishing derbies, mini golf, ice cream socials, concerts, just anything for the Carlisle community and surrounding communities to do for free over the 4th of July weekend is what it's all about. So I've been involved with it for, I want to say, 20 plus years. Every year is going to be my last year, but then it just, somebody has to do this stuff. So I keep on, and then I retired a few years ago. I was with South Middleton Township, and I was the institutional volunteer, I guess, from them. And then when I retired, they were good enough to hire someone to take my place on the board. But I thought, well, I might as well keep going. So now I'm a community volunteer, and just have been around a little bit. I can let them know what has happened in the past, that kind of thing. So I continue to do it. I think it's a great thing. What am I forgetting? Anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
I have more of just a statement for the first three presenters, including you. Is it's just that you all bring like summer to life in this town. So the other presenters are also great, but the fact that all three of these presenters that have gone so far, like you bring such vibrancy and interest and excitement and fun to Carlisle in the summer, and it makes like this town like just come to life in a different way than just like the blooming summer could do. So I appreciate all of you and the effort you put in, because I love all these, and I hear the basketball games from my house, and I try to attend everything, and I go to Bluegrass. So in general, I just want to say thank you to all of them.
Thank you. I'm sure they do as well. Yeah. As I say, someone's got to do this stuff. I mean, so might as well be me and then these good folks. So and with your help, and as I say, you guys have been with us since the beginning, and some of the pioneers are no longer with us, but next year will be the bicentennial, and then the year after that will be our 50th anniversary. So it's just interesting that, and Wayne Pyle's daughter, Jackie, just got back on the board, so she's kind of like back on now to see her dad's thing, go to the 50th anniversary. So it's kind of an interesting thing. When you think of 50 years, it's just amazing. So anyhow, any other questions?
Thanks, Russ. Anything else? All right, thank you.
All right, well, thanks for your consideration.
Next up, Doreen, Central Pennsylvania Annual HBCU College and Workforce Fair. You win for the longest title of the night.
There you go. Good evening. So thank you for the time today. For the HBCU College and Workforce Fair, many of you already know it's a passion project of mine. I'm going to say some seemingly forbidden words, so if you have, a weak heart, sorry. But, diversity, equity, inclusion, all of the things that people are not allowed to say in today's world, I'm going to say them because I pride myself in working with and for children who often don't have equitable opportunities when it comes to education, educational opportunities. And so, as I've watched the chaos in our world. I actually, for a moment, considered not having the fair this year because we have lost sponsors, because they cannot give money to something that has those quote unquote forbidden words in them. But, it was my own children who said, Mom, absolutely not. We need to continue doing things to educate our future workforce. And so, therefore, I have decided to continue, and we will continue as long as possible. For those of you who aren't aware, what we do is we put on an HBCU and workforce fair every year. HBCU stands for Historically Black College and University. We added workforce because we know that many of our Black and brown children do not have the access that others have. And so, what we do is we bring in workforce and HBCU reps, as well as community members, as well as workforce leaders, to talk to our children about the opportunities that are available at HBCUs and in the workforce. In addition to that, we brought in the military. We have brought in teachers to work with kids on what essays should look like. And if they're going to the workforce, then we have people come in and talk about how you should dress for an interview, how you should present yourself, any of those things, how you should balance work and play, because you have to have both in order to remain sane. This year, we're even going to have a fashion show because, sorry if you're a young folk, but young folks need a little bit of practice with learning how to dress appropriately for the workforce. In addition to that, will continue having FIA or someone come in and work with loans and how to fill out, the websites that kids need to fill out in order to get funding. So there are so many different reasons that we have to continue doing this. And for those who think that it's, we only serve Black and brown children, we actually have had diverse crowds before. Not extremely diverse, but I've had kids of all ethnicities and genders come to me and say, you know what, this was amazing because I didn't know XYZ. And I also want to just state that what we put into these children now comes back 2, 3, 4, 5-fold when they come to you for a job and they share their expertise and their love of learning and their love of serving and giving. So thank you. Please continue to champion our children because they are the future. And no matter what anyone says, we cannot get rid of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging because it's here to stay. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Doreen. Thank you
Sure.
for your continued advocacy on this. I just want to make sure. It looks like Councilor Mellon maybe has a question, comment.
More of a comment.
Yes.
So I was at the first one that you did at the YWCA, which you already outgrew the space that first
I did.
year, right? And I know then you went to the Expo Center and you outgrew that. And thank you for being so flexible last year because I think we're looking at Central Penn College and
Yes.
we worked to get you in partnership with Dickinson, and thanks to Dickinson for hosting it. And I'm really grateful you were able to keep it here in Carlisle. And I think it went well last year too. I wasn't able to attend, but so it's great to see that partnership is continuing and you're still gonna.
They're checking into the risk analysis.
Okay.
So it may not be held, and I would even dare to say it probably will not be held at Dickinson this year because, again, it is amongst the forbidden words in this country. So I've already reached out to Maddie. It will be smaller as a result. We are committed to keeping it here in Carlisle. So we are talking about reimagining it so that it's still effective It's still here in Carlisle. It's just a little different, and that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. I totally forgot about
Thanks, Doreen.
that. All right.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Community Empowerment Services, Dr. Eskridge.
Getting a little old with everybody, so it'll take me a little while to walk up here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Eskridge. I am the founder and CEO of Community Empowerment Services. We are a community-based reentry support program, and there are many phases that brings me to you. I first of all was brought together by Cumberland County Prison with the leaders there in the parole and probation department to form a community-based reentry support program. That has, we collaboratively worked together and established the program. And now we are serving, after about 4 months, we're serving about 20 reentrants that are coming out of the prison and coming from the community as well. So we're moving really fast, but reentry is a slow process. It is a process. And you think, oh, well, they come, returning citizens are released from prison and everything just goes fine. Well, that's not so. The process is they are released from prison with absolutely no money, but with bills that they have to pay that's related to their incarceration. So we start with zero, and we have a lot of issues to get them back as being responsible citizens. So I'll take you a little bit through that process. Our first goal is finding them housing. They have to have a home plan before they're released from prison. The second thing is we have to find them transportation because they can't get a job, they can't get housing, they can do nothing without transportation support. And so we have wraparound services, and you all know, if you know me, I'm big with alliances and bringing people working together. So I built a cadre of other community support organizations, and we work together going through those first goals of getting them housing, transportation, and a job. Once we do that, the process is just hitting step number 2, which there really aren't any programs out there now. There's community cognitive-based training, because many of these people that we're serving have been incarcerated for 20, 30 years that we're serving, and they have no idea about what's happening nowadays in society. And they've been living under trauma and constant looking behind their back. So trust and having the skills to maneuver society in an ethical and cooperative manner is not available. So what I'm coming to you for support with is, after we've got them out of danger's way where they can at least have a job, a place to live, and some way to get there, we now want to deal with the cognitive behavioral issues that they face. So I have 2 curriculums that I'm coming to ask you for support about. One is Real Colors. And I know many of you may have went through the Colors and Crossroads curriculum. The Colors curriculum is going to it's akin to the Myers-Briggs personality traits. So what we're trying to teach them with the first phase of the cognitive-based training is if someone doesn't speak back to you, you don't get mad at them. That's one of the traits of an introvert personality. So we go through their 4 colors that they have to learn. And the idea of learning about these different 4 colors is that, oh, I didn't know why they didn't say anything when I spoke to them. Oh, so that's what they're learning is temperament, uh, human temperament, uh, uh, types. And so they'll know better how to deal with personalities that they would judge and cause trouble with potentially. The second part of the cognitive based training curriculum is the Crossroads curriculum. And the objective of the Crossroads curriculum is to teach social behavior training, is around social behavior trainings. And that is really around teaching antisocial attitudes and behaviors that will land them right back into prison. So we serve men and women in these programs. So once we get the folks established in their housing, transportation, and so forth, where they're living independently, now we have the opportunity and the need to teach them the social skills they need to be productive citizens in our communities. So I come to you tonight, and believe me, these facilitated materials cost quite a bit of money. So that's what I'm coming to you for this evening and asking for support with. Okay? Any questions? I know, I didn't run my mouth too much. Everybody, I'm from Rodessa, Louisiana, so that's why I sound like I do.
I do have one. Well,
Okay.
it's 2 questions, I guess.
Sure.
How is your reentry program different than Tomorrow's Neighbors?
Tomorrow's Neighbor is a partner.
Okay,
So
that was
what?
gonna be my next question.
Yes, they're a big partner
Okay,
of mine. So when
good.
the Cumberland County Prison has been amazed. They were like, Michael, you're going to take all these reentrants in and you're going to do it by yourself with no staff? And I said, no, it's about building relationships. And if you don't know, I'm the founder and originator of the Carlisle Community Leaders Networking Alliance. And my goal was to get everybody coming out of the hole, like-minded people, to stop competing with each other, but to start working with each other. And that's how I've been able to move forward. Cumberland County Prison is saying, Michael, I can't believe this. So it's moving forward with the first phase. Now, looking down the road, I want to get ahead so that we can also make this a priority as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dr. Eskridge. It's good to see you again. Okay. Next up, Craighead House Committee Corporation.
Hi, I'm Lou Conser, and I'm representing Craighead House. And the first thing I want to do is thank you for this opportunity. Grant funds like this, even small amounts, are so helpful to small organizations. But even more importantly, this builds community. Everyone in this room tonight has heard about other organizations, and it shows how democracy can work. So thank you. Like I say, I'm representing Craighead House, and I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of people here haven't heard of it. And part of what I'm asking you for is to help us change that. It's the former residence of the Craighead family of naturalists. The house was built in 1886, and we haven't restored it, made it the same as it was when it was built, but we've renovated it, and it now includes a outdoor education area on the banks of the Yellow Breeches. We're on East Old York Road. And it has an indoor education area where we do 18 to 20 programs a year, education programs. We also have now, just as of the last couple of months, we have a small museum which brings together some of the artifacts from the Craighead family. And we also have a large book collection of the writings of Jean Craighead George, who was one of the Craigheads, the generation that we focus on. She wrote over 100 children's books, one of which won what's called the Pulitzer Prize for Children's Literature, the Newbery Award. But again, I bet many people in this room haven't heard of either the Craigheads or Craighead House. To let you know what we do, we offer these programs throughout the year. We now can be open all year round. We just got our heating system and all those things put together. Our programs are free, and we particularly focus on children as well as adults. Our mission, technically, to quote it, is to provide an educational and recreational resource that focuses on nature, literature, history, and respect for our environment, as exemplified by the life's work of the Craighead family. To give you a very brief outline of the Craigheads, as I say, they built this house in 1886 and lived there for many years. Then the generation beginning in the early 20th century, late 1800s, brothers Eugene and Frank Craighead were recognized naturalists. Frank was named the Scholar of the Everglades by the governor of Florida because of his work in trying to preserve and protect the Everglades. Coming to the area of the family that we focus on, Frank's twin sons, who are Frank Jr. and John, and there's a link in my grant to some of the articles about them. They began their careers on the banks of the Yellow Breeches. They trained falcons, which is an ancient sport, and are credited with bringing that to America. They also are credited with really helping to save the grizzly bears in Yellowstone, because they showed that it wasn't the grizzly bears that were going after the people. It was the people who were encroaching on what was supposed to be a national park that protected the wildlife. This was during the 20s and 30s. Their sister, Jean Craighead George, as I say, wrote over 100 books, many of them prize-winning books, mostly for children. But if you go to Whistle Stop Bookshop, you can still find books by Jean Craighead George, as well as at Village Artisans. Last year, more than 800 people attended our educational programs. We do them both indoors and outdoors. This year, 2025, we have already scheduled 16 programs, for adults and children, including talks about insects, the garden, the Appalachian Trail's 100th anniversary, bird migration, which goes in with the borough's participation in Birdtown, USA, and a falconry day. We actually have a falcon come and a trainer to come, and they fly the falcon. And that's one of the parts of our budget here. You have to have a license to fly a falcon in Pennsylvania, and it's a bit pricey. So, and also to have someone come and bring these birds. It's really a neat day for adults and children. We are partnering with a number of organizations. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy actually rents most of our second floor for their offices. So we've been able to make a really good partnership with them. But we work with libraries, schools, homeschoolers, the Historical Society, the Master Gardeners to present our program. So we really do try to work with the community. The vast majority of our attendees are from Carlisle, or at least the Carlisle area, but we also have drawn people from other areas in the U.S. We impact what you guys are trying to do with your primary funding areas. We've preserved the house. We actually won the very first preservation award from the Historical Society for our work in bringing this house, which, believe me, was fallen down. And now it's occupiable, it's beautiful, and we've won awards for our gardens. We focus on native plants. Our programs are fun and educational sometimes both, sometimes one or the other. And they have helped, our gardens have helped to beautify the area. We provide numerous events that bring communities and people from the community together. And we teach people about the environment. We're working hard to increase so that the next time I come here, everybody will say they've heard of the Craighead House. But the funding that we're asking for this year is, as I say, to help us underwrite some of the programs that cost something, as well as for Falconry Day. And also, Jean Craighead George was a noted artist and it illustrated a lot of her books. We've also got awards. We've got some citations. The twin boys, Frank and John, won awards from National Geographic and the Audubon Society, and we have some of that. It's expensive to have that stuff framed, so that's something else that we're asking for funding for. We raise almost all of our own money. We are all volunteer, and we really appreciate this opportunity and hope that you'll be able to help us out a little bit also.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No, I liked when you said you have a falcon coming, but it sounded like the falcon just shows up on an invitation.
It's really something to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. Next is Cumberland Youth Cycling Development. Is there someone here? No? Okay. Move on to Historic Carlisle. Two in a row. Hope Station. I know Rogette's here.
Good evening, everyone. I have a PowerPoint presentation for you, but first I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Rajette Harris. I'm Executive Director for Hope Station, and we're deeply grateful for the support the borough has always shown us. We're requesting a grant to expand our Juneteenth celebration, and with your support, hopefully, we're not just growing an event, we're strengthening a tradition, investing in unity and making Carlisle a beacon of inclusion. So I know we're short on time, so if we can go to the next slide. But as many of you probably know, Hope Station went through a strategic process last year, so our mission has changed. So our mission is now focused on working with the Black and Brown community in the area as far as lifting them up with economic and social mobility. Next slide, please. So our first event, the plan is to do a week long of events that will include educational, cultural, and fun activities for all age groups are being planned right now. And as some of you may or may not know, 2025 is celebrating 25 years of serving the community. So this is a great opportunity to expand our Juneteenth activities. So June 14th, we would start off with a 1 Mile for Justice. As we all know, health disparities is huge in the Black and Brown communities. So along with the 1 Mile for Justice walk run, we will be including a health fair. This is free to the community, health screenings, mental health, blood pressure, back to school physicals, cholesterol, blood sugar, lipo, protein. We're also going to be providing free yoga classes and Zumba classes during the health fair part. Later that afternoon, we will be holding our annual Freedom Festival block party. So obviously, we're even going to have a dunk tank this year. But obviously, free food, ice cream, face painting, music. So that's sort of the kickoff to the week. Next, we will be holding a fashion show the next day. The big piece about this is all of the clothes presented are going to be from local Black designers. So that's how we plan on promoting that. On the next day, that Monday, I don't know if any of you have been to the William Goodrich Freedom Center in Underground Railroad. It's very educational. They actually have boxes, because I tried to get in one myself, boxes that slaves in the South tried to ship themselves to the North so they'd be free. Those are the type of education activities. And this would also, the plan is, the reason we're going for grant money is we want as much of this free to the public as possible so they can experience it. But this is one of the educational experiences that we would like. We have a tour guide so that we would have with the group. So we'd have the museum for ourselves, basically, that would take us through the different parts of the museum so people can learn their history. A lot of people look at Juneteenth as a day off of work. As we all know, it's a lot more than that. So we want to add education in with the fun. So building generational wealth, something else that's lacking in the Black and Brown community, and we can't start building that wealth if we don't own anything. So this is going to be a full day, a first time home ownership and legacy building summit. Right now we have F&M Bank, M&T Bank, MidPenn Bank. We have financial planners getting involved, real estate agencies getting involved. There's going to be expert-led discussions, home buyer guidance. They're actually going to sit down with people who are there, go through their credit. If they have bad credit, get them tips on how to improve it. Let them know where the grant money is, the voucher money is for closing, down payment, closing costs. So this is interactive. It's just not sitting a whole day listening to people speak. We're actually going to have experts there to take them through the process of actually getting a home for their families. Next, please. On the 18th, we're doing this with Calc. Yes, thank you. It's a guided art event. The name of it is The Muse, the Audience, and the Griot, the Expression and History of Blackness Through Art. A local artist, Kazia Landis, is going to be leading this session. What's interesting about this is she's going to allow people to paint portraits of themselves, but you can't use any type of brown. So the goal of it is for people to paint themselves how they see themselves, and then of course she'll be leading a discussion with that as well. This event is also free to the public, and I'm on the Lincoln Cemetery committee, and we had a meeting yesterday, and we are going to be putting solar lights in the ground along Lincoln Cemetery, but we would like to combine it with this event and have it that night and present it to the public. And then we'd like to end the night with an event that we're working with Carlisle Theater, a comedy show. The opening act would be the Unhushed Sisters. They're an improv group of all women of color. And then Earl David Reed, who actually lives in Cumberland County, would be the lead comedian that evening. And then, can you go to the next slide, please? And the next one. One more. There was a quick little video I wanted to show you. It was 1 minute long. Yeah, it was 1 minute long that would have taken you through all the events.
Okay.
But do you have
Thank
any
Richard.
questions?
No, are there any questions? No.
Are you getting in the dunk tank, Rosette?
I want to do both. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Good. Bridget, I'll say I in my law practice I don't do as much family law as I used to in custody. But for the first time I had somebody specifically request in their holiday list not only Juneteenth but the day that Hope Station would be celebrating Juneteenth. So now they have a selection of
Yes.
of days to choose.
A little
from.
bit
So,
for everyone.
yeah. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Lamberton Community Garden.
Thank you. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. I'm Mariana Past. I live just north of Lamberton Middle School, and this is our 5th year of coming to you for friendly support for a very, I think, another vibrant summer activity that extends into the fall. We are a group of people who have come together organically with students from Lamberton, some teachers, neighbors, and a wide range of community groups, churches, the Dickinson tennis team, international students. We come together to grow beautiful, organic, affordable food because it's free in a beautiful space, which is a gateway to the Letort Spring Run Trail. So we have a lot of slides, but we'll go quickly and maybe I'll just give you the thumbs up. These leading questions are about organic food. We can keep going. How many of you enjoy organic vegetables? How many of you find them very easily affordable? Right? It's hard and you have to make choices. And so let's keep going. What our garden does is produce a pretty sizable harvest of vegetables throughout the summer and into the fall, and some fruit. Strawberries are almost ready. And we share this not only with our community of gardeners, but also with the Salvation Army's My Brother's Table. Chef Heather and especially security guard Marlon, who's our friend, love to see what we show up with from week to week. And so it's a really, really beautiful collective that has our mission. We'll go to the next slide. We learn, collaborate, and grow together. This is not new material for all of you because we've been here before and we're very grateful for the support. We don't have any other source of income except lemonade stands. So we sometimes get very creative and we can make a lot happen with a little through the equivalent of seed libraries or saving our own seeds, working with Leaf, getting their starts. So there's a lot of things we do to make this big for little. Let's keep going. We are all volunteers, all generations. We have people from different countries. Some speak other languages. We affect directly around 100 borough residents. So neighbors enjoy the food. There are approximately 75 to 100 clients at the Salvation Army who regularly can enjoy more healthy options when we're able to deliver fresh food to them. Indirectly, hundreds of people pass by the garden on their way to the trail, which is a beautiful space of its own. So we're a nice gateway, and people often stop and look and they tell their kids, oh, that's chard, you know, and people learn from the plants we have growing, and they sometimes give us suggestions. Oh, you could do this, and we listen, and it's a very nice learning atmosphere. Let's keep going. We mesh well with borough goals, including building community and beautifying the area. Let's keep going. We have many slides. We also offer an opportunity for exercise, whether through gardening or encouraging people to see this beautiful space and explore the stream. So you can go several miles now. It's a great, regular, free summer activity on the south side of town. Let's keep going. Maybe one more. We're almost there. This map shows how all of the trails connect. It's beautiful. We're almost done affixing it to something that will help it stick in the little window box better. But this helps orient visitors to the trail, to the south of Carlisle, and they can see all of the organizations that collaborate to make this a very nice space. They can also see there's very few bathrooms, but we can't really help that. Let's go one more. So I think it's clear that this is a strong community building organization. We teach not only children, but one another things that are fun to share, particular pumpkin varieties that we want to try. I just learned the hard way, strawberries are perennials. I didn't know they'd come back every year. Oops. So even the leaders, I'm not the head gardener, she knows a lot more, but it's just great to constantly be regenerating our knowledge. Let's keep going. I think we're almost done. Our budget is around $1,000. We're making a special request, if possible, to buy some cold frames. Very simple, just to grow things further into the fall so they don't all freeze and die instantly. This would help us involve more school children in the garden club because they aren't in school when most things are in harvest, coming ripe. So this will let us expand that educational mission and benefit more people at the Salvation Army. I think this is almost it. There's our budget. Here's our ask. We've priced it out. We would be grateful for any support that you can give us. And we are happy to share vegetables. If people want to stop in and volunteer Tuesday nights, anyone who helps gets to help harvest. So I think we are at our conclusion. Thank you so much. And any questions?
Any questions?
So it's not a requirement for our program, but are you an incorporated nonprofit? Are you a 501c3? No.
No, we have a partnership with the middle school, and they have supported kind of under their wing of the garden club, but we don't have any formal tax status to take donations. That's a great question. It would be nice, but it's kind of a little far off, is it? Any other talent?
Anything else? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
From Community Garden to Project Share. It's alphabetical order, but appropriately enough.
Hello, everyone. Did Jordan just leave? I want to give a shout out to the many wonderful organizations, but my daughter Veronica played in that basketball league for 2 years. She got dunked on for the first time by a kid who was 14 and like 6'3". It was a great learning experience. The mayor and I spent many nights down there watching kids play. I am Lisa Maddox. I'm the Director of Development for Project Share. I'm here specifically to speak about the program that we're requesting funding for, which is our Weekend Nutrition Power Pack program. It's a big mouthful of stuff. It basically provides weekend food for children in the school district who are receiving free and reduced lunch during the week. We serve kids in South Middleton and Carlisle. They're identified by the school guidance counselors, and they tell us how many packs of food they need, and we give it to them. So these are de facto Project Share clients, but they don't go through us. We try to make it as easy and private as possible. So the guidance counselors tell us when they see a need, when they can tell that kids or families are going without on the weekends, and we provide essentially breakfast and lunches, for the weekends to the kids. Carlisle, the numbers for Carlisle last year during the school year, we provided about 5,800 of these individual packs. They cost us about $6 because of our purchasing power. It's a lot more food than that. So just to serve the students in Carlisle through this program in one school year, it's about $35,000. We are happy to do it. That's why we are here, to help feed people who have trouble finding the funds to feed themselves. We're asking for $2,000, as everyone in this room is. We would be happy for any amount that you could help us fund this. We get other grant funding, we have other donors. I will ask anybody for anything, anytime, to help feed people. But food insecurity doesn't take the weekend off. It doesn't take the summer off. A lot of you are probably aware of our summer feeding program is very well publicized, well funded, but like $80,000 for that program too. So this is sort of the school year weekend version of it. And like I said, like Carlisle, so South Middleton and Carlisle make it up. Carlisle is about 2/3 of the need. Last year when I spoke to you, 1 in 3 Carlisle students was using free and reduced lunch services. This year it's 1 in 2. So the need is growing in Carlisle, it's growing in South Middleton, it's growing in the county. 1 in 10 people in Cumberland County are food insecure, and 1 in 8 children are food insecure. Our numbers are double over what they were last year. The needs increasing, our costs are increasing, our grocery costs. If your grocery costs are increasing, imagine what ours are. So overall, in our programming, we spend about $350,000 a year buying food. That's our biggest single expense. And the amount of food we get for that is immense because we get 3 times that in kind donations. So we are very careful to steward the food that we're giving out, and we're happy to do it. So you can let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to leave our annual impact report from last year and a letter from Superintendent Colleen Friend about her support for this program, because obviously it's your kids, it's her kids that we're helping, and the school district is not in a position to do this financially, but we are, and hopefully you can help.
Any questions?
No question, just a comment. I know about the program and the Power Packs. I remember even before I started working at Hope Station that during the summer, the kids that were attending Hope Station, we were giving them those Power Packs. And I think it's really important that they're able to get the things that they need, the food, in order to take home, especially now. I'm very I'm very concerned about our families with, people losing their jobs like every day, the impact that that's going to have on people. So I'm glad to see that you're still doing that. I think that it is a great program. And while I'm amazed at how many Power Packs you gave out last year, it also saddens me that there are that many people that are needing your services.
It's a double-edged sword for us too, right? Because we don't want to see the numbers go up because that means the need is there, but we are not naive enough to think that the number of people we serve is everybody who needs help. So we just hope that people find their way to us. One of the things I really like about the weekend program is they don't have to find their way to us. The Carlisle Homeless Liaison, Sandy So, can find it, that anyone can identify and sort of very discreetly get the food to the kids. And obviously it's helping the kids, Safrani, but it's helping the families, the parents who are sleeping during the day if they work at night or what. I mean, they know their kids have food. And hopefully if their kids have food, maybe they have food, because parents will make sure their kids have food before they eat, and we see that too. So yeah, it's a lot more than just helping the kids. It's hopefully helping the families. So
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Next, Regain Your Life.
So this is a very am I too loud? This is a very personal story that I'm going to share with you. So just heads up, everybody. So by a show of hands, how many of you know someone who struggles with addiction or mental health, current or past? Let's be honest. According to the Department of Health, 1 out of 3 people, and look how many are in this room, struggle or know someone in recovery or current addiction or mental health. But it's one that's very rarely spoken about. That's why this is personal, not just for me, but all of us. One story, but many lives. I'm going to tell you a story of an individual. Chris had been sober for 2 years and 3 months, unknowingly to everybody. He completed rehab and followed every step and requirement along with meetings and probation in the community of Carlisle. But when he returned to his everyday life in Carlisle, he found himself alone. His old friends were gone or unchanged. His family still unsure, and his nights were quiet and empty and extremely lonely. Without community, Chris relapsed over and again and is no longer with us. This isn't just Chris's story. It's the story of thousands of individuals, not from the lack of willpower, but from the lack of belonging and acceptance, with no positive, free, sober activities available, especially with family, friends, and the community. Without positive social outlets, this may happen again. For all we know, it could be happening right now. His story isn't unique. Many people leave treatment with no community around them. They need connection, not just rules and requirements. They need people who say these 3 words: you belong here. Why does this matter to you? According to the National Institute of Health, the sense of belonging and acceptance plays a significant and productive role against the fight of recovery and improved mental health. Think of yourself or that person you raised your hand for. Moving away from substance abuse or improving mental health is not just about meeting requirements and attending AA meetings or NA meetings, but it's participating in social groups. And that is a predictor of treatment success because it allows people to be accepted for who they are, creating that sense of belonging. So good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak today. And this is a side note. I'm ashamed because the only group I heard of ever was Project Share. And we are all a community of public service in this room. So that's a side note. My name is Michelle, and I'm a high school teacher. So my public service matters, and it's meaningful, as yours is. But I'm here to represent a nonprofit, brand new organization here in Carlisle Borough called Regain Your Life. It's a community nonprofit with a clear mission that aligns with the Carlisle Borough's mission and vision, and all of ours, to promote and provide hope, connection, and belonging to individuals and to the families who walk alongside them. And that's why it's personal for me. That story of Chris was my son. Our purpose is recovery and mental health awareness improvement doesn't end with sobriety. It begins there. And yet, far too many of us and those individuals find themselves isolated, unsupported, labeled, and vulnerable to relapse due to the lack of social and sober environments. Think of a good time. What does that mean? Going out, having a drink? What does that truly mean? This is where Regain Your Life steps in. We host regular in-person and virtual gatherings designed to rebuild trust, foster friendships, and offer joyful, healthy alternatives to boredom. Because if you ask individuals who suffer from addiction or mental health, I do it because I'm bored. I do it because I'm lonely. Those are the words that are all in common. And then they sabotage their recovery and their mental health because it's just one more time. Regain Your Life is a volunteer-led program that brings adults and teenagers in recovery or mental health, or those who struggle with it, and their loved ones into social sober activities. This is not NA. This is not AA. This is just a sober gathering. We help individuals rebuild trust, rediscover joy, and form lasting friendships and relationships. These small investments from the Carlisle Borough help us create safe, inclusive, and meaningful spaces to all. And this truly changed lives. What we do affects more than just the individuals. It affects their families, their day-to-day lives, all of us. We lift up families, strengthen neighborhoods, and reduce the social and economic burdens of untreated addiction. What I spoke about, the boredom, the loneliness. Every Carlisle resident, whether indirectly or directly, benefits from this. And they're healthier and they're more connected. We are a support to each other's success. Think about that. Our work is not separate from your goal. or even just a general goal. It embodies that. We promote safety, inclusive public health, and pride in our town. What we are doing complements your plan for long-term community-wide resilience. Supporting individuals in recovery strengthens families, lowers emergency response costs, and creates safer, more connected neighborhoods. This is an investment in Carlisle's long-term health and unity, and it starts here. This initiative reflects your values, community health, safety, and belonging. We are here to help you carry that vision forward. Let's give second chances an actual fighting chance. Help us make recovery and positive mental health sustainable and belonging possible. In closing, the funds that you would provide would allow us to reach more people more often, spread the message with the tools they need to heal and thrive and belong. We are a volunteer-driven initiative ready to act. We just need partnership, and I can think of some that I've already heard of today. Thank you for believing in second chances and helping us give the residents a much-needed opportunity. Our end goal is simple: to provide support, understanding, and a sense of belonging. Together, there's hope. We may have different careers and passions, but we all have one goal: to support our community and the needs of those who live here, because we are in this fight together, and each of us is affected in one way or another. Lastly, you might ask yourself, why does this matter? Well, here's my answer. Think of my story about my son, Chris. I told him he mattered. Other people told him he mattered, but he never felt like he mattered. Help us make the difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that very personal story. And if you become like the other organizations here and apply again in the future, know too, we'll make this connection, but we have a co-responder program that also addresses mental health and drug addiction and substance abuse challenges that people have in the community. So it aligns in that way too. So when you get to that part of the application, you can add to that in the coming years, because I'm sure your organization really dovetails really well with the efforts that we're trying to make here in the borough. So,
okay, thank you.
Sure. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, it's the third act, Shakespeare, page to stage. To show us that nothing will come of nothing. I couldn't help it. I like King Lear.
Well, that's a great quote, but so much comes from Shakespeare too. So my name is Sue Biondo Hench, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Shakespeare Page to Stage program. It is a very young program with a very old inspiration 400 years ago or more. I want to say that as a teacher in the school district, I taught for 37 years. Early on in my career, I had someone say to me, if you're going to be teaching Shakespeare, you need to do it through performance-based work, because that's when everything opens up for them. They learn how to peel away the layers of a piece of text. They learn how to analyze imagery. They learn how to explore characterization. They learn the power of story. And for me, most importantly, they find themselves. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again as these students who may feel like everybody else or different than everybody else, or scared or worried or afraid or in love or angry, they find themselves in that play and they find ways to negotiate life. One of the things that's happened across those years is this point of collaboration that Shakespeare creates. And that point of collaboration has allowed the students and me to work together to create some art that I think has been very meaningful for us and hopefully for everyone who has seen it. And we've talked often about what would it be like if we could open up what we do at the high school in the community. And that's what we've begun to do. And we are about 5 years in, or beginning our 5th year this year. What makes us unique? is that we bring scenes and full plays into the community through a variety of ways. One of those ways is through Farmers on the Square. After COVID, when people were just starting to open up again, one of the students, who's always the source of the best ideas that we have, said, I think we need to go where the people are because people aren't going to come to us right now. So we reached out to Farmers on the Square and said, could we do some pop-up scenes? And they said yes. The person who was in charge of Farmers on the Square at the time didn't know us, didn't know our work, was a little skeptical, but took a chance. And by the end of our 5 weeks, 2 of them are meet and greets and 3 of them are performances. She said, you've increased our foot traffic, please come back. So this will be our 5th summer with Farmers on the Square. From there then, when it looked like we could do a full-length production again, we looked for a home. And the first place we found to do a performance fell through, and I was kind of brokenhearted. But then I thought, what's the closest place to the square? And it was St. John's. And I went and I talked to Father Adam and Mother Melissa, and before I could even finish the request, they said, of course you can perform here. That's a part of our mission. So we have begun performances there, and they did give one caveat, which is we would need to share the space with the SPY program, which meets in the area where we work. So I reached out to their wonderful coordinator, Teresa Rice, and I said, what do you think? And she said, great. And I said, well, how can we pay it forward? And she said, can you do some workshops for our kids? So every summer now we provide an afternoon of rotating workshops that are led by the students from the high school. And we get a chance to interact with them and give them a little taste of Shakespeare and a little taste of theater, a little taste of acting. And they watch as the set is built around them across the course of the 3 weeks that we're there. In addition to that, that set that begins to magically appear is part of a partnership with the Tool Library, which helps us plan and build the set that comes up and then very quickly goes down at the end of the 3rd week. In addition to that, we ask ourselves, all right, how else can we partner with this community? How else can we bring that vibrant summer programming that you've referenced a couple of times today? And one of them was, well, what about some artists? What's going on at Calc? Who could maybe partner with us on this? Then we met Mo Geiger, who said, I do a Summer Connect program for youth. We try to work in the community, support the community with our artwork. We'd love to work with you. And so they painted our sets. The first year we did a full performance, and last year they created puppets for us. And this year I think they're going to do some tile work as well. In addition to that, we have a partnership with Carlisle High School. I still volunteer there. And Doug Hewlett, who is the person who has taken over the leadership at the school, we partner back and forth, providing resources to each other. And that has been a continued source of joy in my life. What makes us accessible? We are free. Everything we do is free. There is no charge for anyone for anything. We are on the square, which is walking distance for many folks, and we are mobile. We oftentimes go to places. We performed for Art on the Farm. We've performed at Project Share events. We have also performed at, Calc. My students go in and I go in. We do a workshop for the students there. And it is just one of those points of collaboration where a student asked me one time, you really love Shakespeare, don't you? And I said, yeah, I love Shakespeare, but what I really love is how it creates community. One of the things that I will tell you is that because we don't have a lot of funding, it's hard to find funding for the arts. It is, and I understand why it's hard to find funding for the arts when I'm listening to all of these critical projects that are going on in our community, and I understand the hierarchy of needs. And I also understand the power of art. And I think that also brings joy and happiness and relief and escape and inspiration at times when we truly, truly need to have that as a priority as well. Our purchases, should we be able to receive some funds, would go towards things St. John's does not have much in the way of lighting, and that would help for us. Things like fabric for costumes and set supplies, a few handheld musical instruments, and crafts that we provide. We give free crafts when we're out on the square every Wednesday for kids, take-home crafts that correlate with what we're doing. So there's a lot going on, and we've found that most of our funding comes from local people who care about the work that we do, and we've been able to find a few places where we can get a little bit more. But it's interesting how specific some of the arts grants are. You have to have like $100,000 in assets somewhere, and we had $40 when we started. $40 when we started.
You're working toward it.
Pardon?
You're working toward it.
Yeah, that maybe. But I will say that one of the things that also makes the program unique is how unexpectedly relevant it still is, even though the plays are over 400 years old. On the opening night of our very first show, we did Comedy of Errors in 2023. I had no clue what to expect. I knew we had worked really, really hard. We have a 3-week rehearsal season, and it is breakneck. And when I walked into the back of the space, I thought, how many people are going to be here? And it was pretty close to full. And I wanted to cry because people came and they trusted us and they had faith in us. And I think, as hungry as the performers are that we work with for fun and drama and surprise and suspense and inspiration and conflict and challenge, so is everybody else. And their coming there is a gift to all of us. I also want to tell you that our acting company is a little different than the high school company. We're kind of committed to a third, and a third. We have a third current students, a third alumni, and we have a third new community members. And so we're starting to gain some folks. Like, we actually have a professor from Shippensburg who's joining us this year. We have a couple of moms from the community that are joining us this year. And a high school teacher. So, I think people realize there's something inside of them that either wants to be on stage with Shakespeare or be in the presence of people who love Shakespeare, because I think basically he offers something to all of us. And yes, I would be so grateful if you would share some of the financial support with our program. But even more important, please come and see Romeo and Juliet on July 24th, 25th, and 26th at 7 o'clock, or the 27th at 2. We believe that that's the play for this time, even though it was 400 years ago. There's so much about listening and speaking, hearing and understanding, forgiving and caring that we hope to share through this particular production. I want to close by sharing a quote, not from Shakespeare, but by somebody about Shakespeare, who said somewhere that trying to work out Shakespeare's personality was like looking at a very dark glazed picture in the National Portrait Gallery. At first you see nothing, because sometimes he can be really hard to understand, I know that. But then you begin to recognize features, and then you realize that the features are your own. So please join us in helping to allow everybody to blossom through this art form. Thank you. Questions?
I do. Have you heard of the PA Council on Arts?
Yes, and we are interested in applying for the TFAC. We're on the verge of doing that, but that won't happen for next year. So we actually have a deadline tonight, and but that's for it'll be after this particular production's over. Okay. So we did send it, but thank you for that. Okay. Appreciate it. Anything else?
Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to close. You can close.
Well, you go
further.
I was gonna quote Polonius in a second.
You can
but you got.
I have no quotes.
You know what I was going to say too, maybe. but go.
No, go. Do your quote.
No, I wasn't. Go.
Anyway, my point is that I've been on council for 8 years, and I've gone through actually more than 8 of these, because now we're doing them twice a year, and it's a joy to hear all the different stories, and all the work that everyone is doing and the collaboration. And although it does seem like maybe we should only give all the funds to the most in need, but really we're all in need in different ways. And especially this year, some days I have some bleak days, and even though, like, you know, we hear about stories of some people that are struggling, but this community makes me believe that we're going to be okay because we have each other and because you all work so hard to make this place shine and bright and care and connected. So I just want to say thank you because yes, we sit up here and we look, I don't know, fancy. I'm not fancy, but it's really the work of everyone that's doing all of this, like on the street with the people. And I just appreciate it so very much. So I don't know, we're gonna figure out the funding, but it's more than funding. It's all that you do, and even without the funding, you're still creating wonderful things for this community. So I can't thank you enough for everything you all bring to this world.
I was just going to say brevity is the soul of wit. Maybe I should have said it first, but I'll just a couple of things. One, I got to speak to the organization Dr. Eskridge put together a few days ago. And one of the things I mentioned was how this community pulls together for each other. And then I ran into somebody from state government this past weekend who visited us last year at someone else's birthday party, and he didn't recognize me. I was dressed to go to my son's flag football game, and he introduced himself to me like he had never met me before. I said we had lunch together, and he kind of looked at me, and I said I'm the mayor of Carlisle, and he said, oh, and the first thing he said was, you know, you have a special town there. And I said, I know. And all these organizations show how Carlisle does step forward and help each other out, and also shows why this community shines the way it does. So thank you all. Anybody else want to add?
I'll just say, so in my professional life, I would just spend 3 days at a conference, the United Way Pennsylvania conference in Harrisburg, and there was a session on advocacy. So there were a bunch of people in the room that were United Way employees, but also, you know, legislative aides from Harrisburg. And I was sitting in the back next to a gentleman. I mentioned what we were doing in Carlisle land use reform as a way to urge my fellow United Way employees to not sleep on advocating their local government for things that can be done at the local level. And a guy leaned over to me afterwards and he said, wow, Carlisle, he said, yeah, we talk about you in Harrisburg a lot for all the wonderful things that you're doing. So that doesn't just refer to what we're doing here on council, but what all of you here in the room are doing. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you all. We're going to move on to the boring stuff now. Not entirely. We have Jared yet. The next thing isn't the most exciting. I wasn't talking about 2 items down, Jared. I'm talking about approving meeting minutes. So I'm not sure we can make meeting minutes too exciting. So I will entertain a motion to review and approve the April 2nd, 2025 public hearing and workshop meeting minutes. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Mellon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion carries. Now the exciting stuff, Jared. We're setting the bar real low for you.
Perfect. I have 13 very exciting slides for you. Most of them are pictures, so we'll try to fly through them. The Land Use Reform Subcommittee, just for the viewers at home, if there are any, we spend a lot of time looking at the existing land use regulations. We also look at past policies. In this instance, we went way back. So the 1949 Master Plan of Carlisle, it's estimated to be around 1949, but it was around the time they were looking at, removing the public market or the market house on the square and replacing it with a courthouse. There's a lot in that master plan. It's an interesting document. Not all of it, I think I would advocate for today. but some of it is still, I think, meaningful. This is just an excerpt from the plan that shows where the existing market was on the square, and if demolished, which it eventually was, and replaced with a courthouse, where it could be reestablished within the community and where it made the most sense. Most of the plan talks about access to neighborhoods and places where it would be most appropriate. But a lot of it deals with sort of a scale of a building or area that would be suitable for a replacement site. So if you want to jump to the next one, and just for funsies, I queried before this meeting public markets in the United States, and Google was my friend for this, because there are a whole bunch of them, and a lot of them are really old. Old places. Unfortunately, we don't have a public market building in the borough anymore. We do have a thriving market on the square, on the sidewalk on the square, but it's nothing like this. Anyway, in thinking about existing building stock, we sort of looked at the regulations, and for large buildings that are old, of a certain vintage, that would be an appropriate place for a market. There really aren't a lot of opportunities. So we started looking at the demolition ordinance, and Carlisle has basically two buckets for demolition. One's in our property maintenance code, and the other is in our HARB overlay. So our historic district downtown. Some of those big buildings in the borough aren't within the HARB. So we sort of apply the demolition ordinance that's in property maintenance code, and there are kind of two different ways of going about regulating demolition. In the historic district, we sort of look for any loss of an important resource within the district, something that's contributing, something that has some historical or architectural significance that its loss would be important to the community. We evaluate those things in the historic district. And just for your perspective, as the council knows, we went through the historic district and the places that were eligible for expansion last year, and we had a report in November 2024 that reinforced that the period of significance within Carlisle's historic district was between 1751 and 1951. And you think about the places that are outside of that district, there are a considerable number of places that still are within that period but don't have the overlay protection. So that's kind of the way we do historic preservation. And for property maintenance, every building in the borough that's demolished would have to go through a 15-day demolition delay. And basically it requires that you notify the officials that would make sure that the site's safe, that you deal with sort of nuisance problems, dust and noise and things like this. But there's not really a further delay or a further evaluation outside the historic district. So we started looking at different ways of dealing with that, again, considering great big buildings and places that maybe staff could advocate the council for reuse opportunities for public markets. We came up with three basic approaches to demolition, and I had a nice conversation with my contact with the State Historic Preservation Office today, just about how communities go about this. There are two pretty well-known tax programs. The state offers a historic tax credit that would offset your income tax liability. It's capped in the state or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. There's just not enough resources to go to a ton of projects. The federal historic tax credit doesn't really have a cap, but it's sort of a 5-year cycle of, again, dealing with your income tax liability. And the money to offset your tax obligations are for only for qualified expenses. So if you're going to do a rehab project or something that's going to contribute to the historic building, then you could maybe offset your costs. Another approach to regulating demolition is to adopt an adaptive reuse ordinance. Adaptive reuse is quite like historic preservation. Demo codes, but it really kind of focuses on repurposing a building without as much emphasis on the historic preservation element. So if you have a unique or a building of a certain size, or say of a certain vintage that you think ought to be looked at for reuse opportunities versus demolition and rebuilding, then you would sort of codify your adaptive reuse ordinance to add some incentives. Incentives in sort of lay terms or developer speak gets at your costs. Basically, if your regulatory framework increased the developer's costs, if you find as a council that there's a public benefit in exempting certain requirements for the benefit of reuse, then the developer and the borough sort of wins. So the developer gets a cost reduction and the borough gets that reuse opportunity. For these reuse ordinances, they'll look at reducing fees, reducing parking requirements, density bonuses for certain, types of housing, or, things like this. Demolition delay ordinance takes kind of a different approach. So the first two are kind of your incentive-based ordinances. Will offset your costs directly. We'll look at our standards and we'll cut those standards for a recent use opportunity. Demolition delay is sort of a more strict approach. In a lot of codes, you'll have, say, a 90-day delay. So if a property owner wants to demolish their building and it's a building that the local entity has decided ought to go through this rigorous process, then you'd say we'll have 90 days or maybe longer to evaluate the property. So the things that you'd want to look at that have a public nexus are, public engagement. Do the citizens of the borough actually care about the building? Do they think reuse or renovation makes sense? Do they have a historical connection to the building, or is it really not interesting or important to the community? So there's a public engagement component that the owner would have to provide some evidence that there's really no reasonable return on preserving the building. Say if it's subject to regulation and the developer says, this thing is in such bad shape, it's got structural problems. I've brought in my structural engineer to evaluate it, and it's just in such bad shape that I'd have to put in, so much money to bring it back to life that I just can't make a return if I went to sell it or if I went to reuse it and try to make a profit with the business. And there's also, as part of that public engagement, there's usually an evaluation of the market preference for reuse. So you'd actually ask the owner if there are alternative owners for the property that would be interested in reusing it or rehabilitating it versus demolishing and starting from scratch. So those are kind of the three things that we started evaluating. And we can go through the rest of the slides. I only had basically two things to cover tonight that Land Use Reform Subcommittee has been crunching on. One is demolition and looking at that old plan and kind of considering opportunities for public markets and those third spaces. Third spaces that's not a new term, I don't think, but third space, space number one is home, space number two is work, and your third space is a place for social engagement, meeting people and having fun. So that was one item. And then the second item that I want to talk to you about is kind of our neighborhood evaluation and some of our single use districts. We started looking at R2 and R4 zoning districts. These are just offset from at least the area that we started looking at. It's just sort of northwest from the central business district, our C1 district. I say single use districts because you can mostly just do residential type uses. There's very few non-residential things you can do. At the outset of forming the Land Use Reform Subcommittee, I'd advise council to start looking at the neighborhoods, considering places where the regulations weren't in sync with the physical characteristics of neighborhoods, and to focus on the front yard, because the front yard, at least within public roads, is that piece of the public realm where, you know, the local governing organization, the council, can have the most influence. You're building the roads, you're requiring sidewalks, street trees, and these types of things. The way the buildings approach the street is important. And then we also started looking at historical non-residential uses. So if you advance, this is where we get into pictures. So as I said, we really started focus on places that were just outside of the central business district, our C1 district. C1, you can do a lot of things. You can have apartments over commercial, you can have just commercial spaces. It's got a lot of opportunity because reusing those old buildings is very important, and that's something that should be encouraged. We started looking at this pink area, which is the R4 district. It's fairly high density residential, and then R2, which is medium density. That's up in the green. If you're colorblind, I'm sorry, there's only two colors and they're both residential. That's all we got here. Let's go to the next one, please. Now the blue polygons, and we'll give credit to Deb Sinha on staff for going through this evaluation and working with the Historical Society and a lot of the neighbors that Councilor Perry brought to us to speak to us, and also Deputy Mayor Landis. We've been able to talk to some of the people that lived in these areas and could still remember some of the old stores, some of the old pool halls, those places where there were commercial opportunities or studios or things like that within the neighborhood, and they could still remember where they were. All the blue represents non-residential, and if you recall from the beginning, these two zoning districts are just for residential. So let's go to the next part. That's what remains. From all the blue in the last slide, that's really all we got for non-residential. And I asked that we kind of not evaluate, say, the institutional spaces, the schools and things like that, and really just kind of focus on those parts of the neighborhood, the small scale retail places, the studios, the mechanic shops, those types of things. And that's what remains. Next. So again, back to square one. So we looked at non-residential, and we also wanted to evaluate some of the dimensional issues. So again, we're back to R2 and R4. Next. So there's a lot going on in this slide, but we tried to condense it down to just the basics. What you see delineated is right-of-ways, so street right-of-ways, and a lot of lots, so parcels. The color in the map is to show where lot coverage was exceeded. Now, if you see your property on this, don't freak out. We're not going to send notice of violations or anything. We're just trying to evaluate if the code is doing what it ought to do. In this instance, I mean, there's a lot of conforming properties, but as far as lot coverage goes, there's a lot that really doesn't conform. And the reason this is significant for the Land Use Reform Subcommittee is if you have buildings that are contributing to a neighborhood context, a streetscape, and that are important and things that are desired, then making them non-conforming is usually a bad thing. You don't want to do that. You'd rather they were conforming so that they didn't have to jump through hoops to sort of have their property, and if they want to do anything with it, then they don't have to go through grandfathered uses and existing non-conforming and all these things. They could just have by right activities. So we're looking at this as, did the regulations really want this to happen? Did they want to create non-conformities, or was that an oopsie? Did we make a little mistake? Next. Now this is where it gets pretty gnarly. We started looking at the front lot lines. Now Deb, he spent a lot of time just trying to come up with an actual right-of-way width, which is a bit of a challenge. The county's maps are pretty good for parcels, but they don't establish the actual right-of-way width, and those are variable in the borough. Some of them are 20, some of them are 50 foot wide, 60 foot wide. They're all different. And the lots don't match the actual right-of-way. And what makes it even more challenging is the right-of-ways don't match the cartway. So between the curbs or on the outside of the sidewalk isn't necessarily the public right of way. It could be another couple feet out. So Deb spent a lot of time mapping out the rights of way, because that is where we actually establish the starting point from front yard setbacks. You follow me so far? Okay. So for regulatory purposes, Deb had to go through and map all the right of ways and then establish a buffer. What makes the buffer even more challenging is that it changes for building types. So a townhouse might have a different setback than a single family residential. So we went through all that stuff for both of the districts and gave us a nice map that shows all the building footprints and all the setbacks. If you go to the next one. I think this is the last slide. But this just kind of shows that within those setbacks, that's the hatch mark. In the pink area, we have a very small setback. It's a more of an urban context. The buildings are very close to the street. Some of them are right up to the sidewalk, where the stoop really just drops right into the sidewalk for a lot of these places. And even for those ones, you can see there's a lot of nonconformity. So, it sort of begs certain questions. Should there be a setback, for those places? Does it even make any sense? And then on the other side, in the green, you see a much bigger buffer, but you still see a lot of the building footprints that are in that buffer. So again, is that what we want? Do we want to encourage buildings to be farther back? Do we want to encourage demolition? These types of things. One caveat, one little footnote on these is that because establishing the right-of-way with a map, with a desktop analysis, is not the same as a survey. Some of this stuff might be a little squishy. It's not perfect. The other thing is the footprints aren't all perfect. We did our best to kind of compare the building footprint layer that the county put out to the aerial picture, and they're really close, but they're not perfect. And then the other piece is, within the zoning, you're allowed to have, say, a front stoop or a front porch that's allowed to encroach in the front yard setback. But the actual building space that's occupied by people, that's supposed to be out of it. So as you look at these footprints, if you see small juts, like a little bit of a delineation of a stoop or a porch or something like that, that's very likely complying with the code. But if you see the bulk of the building in that setback, it's probably not. So as we evaluate this, we're thinking through the regulations, and again, if we want to keep these buildings and we want to make them easier for people to use, then some flexibility in the code probably should be established. So we'll keep evaluating it, but I did want to share that we're going through this process and we're trying to be thoughtful and methodical, and we're taking our time. That's all I got.
Any questions, Jared? Yeah, the land use reform meetings are fun. We throw stuff at Jared sometimes and here's an idea, and then Jared comes back with some actual things that we can do, which is great. But the nonconformities that we have, and we had we looked at one block in particular where I think it was minimum lot area, where it was the entire block just didn't conform, but at some point there was some decision made by some council to have this minimum lot area, and why, I don't know. I asked why how many times that meeting. I think, why would they have done this? Just doesn't make a lot of sense. I think cleaning some of this stuff up makes a lot of sense. And also, when you zone like this, when you're creating more setbacks or creating less setbacks, what's happening over time? It's a very gradual process. And so you pull all of that together, and you see, the blue polygons and how they disappear over time. They didn't all just disappear at once, of course. It's just this gradual march forward that is probably well beyond our terms on this body, but the decisions that we make have such a lasting impact. So, thanks, Jared.
I do want to say something. Jared, you guys, the Land Use Reform Committee has been great. I did kind of get on there, I was the last one to join it, and I kind of got on, and I was like, so hey, this is what we're doing, and I would like to be a part of this, and I would like to do this. And you guys all jumped in and said, okay, let's do this. You and Deb's been great. Deb's been great. And I don't act like he works for me, because he doesn't. But he has been great with some of the things that I've discussed with him in the ways that we can really work together. And so I wanted to say to the council, but I also wanted to say to the committee itself that I am appreciative of the work that we are doing. I look forward to our meetings. I'm learning a lot of things, and uh, I know that sometimes I throw some things at you. Don't worry, I got some more things to throw at you, but I appreciate you. So I did want to say that.
Thanks. Anything else?
I-
Mitch, go ahead.
Thank you, Jared. I guess I was wondering, would it be possible for you to just like elaborate briefly on maybe like how certain setbacks would affect like sidewalk width? Just because it's sort of like I know in like certain parts of the borough, like the sidewalks are totally fine. It's like you push a stroller down the sidewalk, no problems. And then there's other areas where we kind of like run into just like it's like you're like stuck on a tree branch with one wheel and then like a stoop with the other. So I don't know if you could just.
I can try to explain that. I mean, if I could go back and establish how we built Carlisle, I might do things different, but it's not what I have. I have to sort of work with what we've got. We've got a lot of really important and unique buildings, but we also have some challenges. Some of the buildings that we were looking at are right up to the sidewalk, and the curb is another 5 feet. And within that area, you've got 3 stairs, and then maybe you got a street tree with a well. So you almost have no room to maneuver in some of these places. And to make things even more complicated, your tree roots heave up the sidewalk, which makes them difficult to manage. I can tell you that one thing that's come out of this is that our climate action committee is looking at the issue of mature trees blowing apart the sidewalks in the long run is a problem and something that ought to be mitigated at the initial stage of planting the tree. But as far as the setbacks, maybe there's some logic in pushing the buildings back to preserve the sidewalk, but I don't see it. I'd rather see the buildings reused and try to sort of work with the geometry of what we have within the right-of-way and the existing building location. But I'll admit some of them are pretty challenging.
And some of our streets are wider than they need to be.
Thanks for all that you do, and it was great. And this is just for the public record that I like the font that Carlisle Borough is in on the market slide in the bottom right. Thank you.
Was that for Stephanie?
just duly noted. That's all. I just really liked it.
Okay. There is no new business. Is there any public comment? Stephanie, anybody by Zoom? Okay. Thank you all. We are adjourned.